Alright, so it's been a busy day in the shop. Started off this morning by going over to the church and being part of the mowing crew, and ran into an issue with the church mower. I don't have the church mower here, but I'll show you on this one. This is my Husqvarna, the church mower, that Hustler that I had a video on last year about the wire breaking. So you have wires that come down here to your clutch and turn your clutch on and off. This one, the wires come in the top and they rest nicely, they don't get tore up. The church mower, the wires come down and they come up and angle in, and twice now the wires broke off. So basically I had to take the factory connector for the clutch and throw it away. And I had a couple of heat shrink crimp connectors, and I put those on, and the heat shrink actually makes a little bit of strain relief for the cable. We'll see how that holds up. If it doesn't hold up, my option is to put in a longer length of wire on the church mower and put a loop in the wire, hook an Adele clamp to the frame, and have that wire go down to it, and that should take some of the strain off that wire and keep it from busting. So this mower, this being my primary mower here at the house, I developed a flat last week. These are a real pain in the butt to get on and off the rim, and this one kept coming off the bead, and so I siliconed it really good to get it to seal up. And it sealed up great, but now the rubber's stretched out, and whenever I try to air it up to the proper pressure, it just pops over the bead. So this tire is trash now. The other tire holds air good, but it's a spare. I decided I'm sick and tired of having to deal with airing these up. I've got the air cannon just to air these up, and I bought flat-free tires. So that'll make that a whole lot easier in the future. I don't have to worry about tire pressure on the front, and these continually go flat. The same deal on the church mower. I actually have an air compressor that I had laying around here that I refurbished and took up to the church so we can air up the tires on the church mower whenever we go to mow, because they're always flat. So I may end up putting the flat frees on the church mower. We'll see how they run on mine first. While I was changing these out, I discovered, if you'll notice, this is sitting nice and flush, and this one's hanging down. There's actually a spring up in here, and it pulls the wheel and tire assembly up. There's a little bit of suspension on this, and so you can see it's got a little bit of spring to it. And this one, I pulled the spring out, and the spring's I already threw it away. It was rusted through and broken, and so I pulled it apart. There's grease zerks here, and grease zerks on your hubs here also. The church mower, I know, does not have these grease zerks. I looked for them. I looked for grease zerks on the wheels, and it doesn't have them. There's nothing greasable on the church mower, which I think is terrible. But I'm going to pump these with grease. I need to buy a new spring for this one. I'm going to put this one down on the ground and pump some grease in there and pump the grease. And since I replaced these wheels, I especially need to grease these. And I'll get this greased up to where it'll run so I can mow the lawn, because the lawn needs mowed. And that's just part of the work I've been doing today. I also had to work on this mower, and I want to show you a trick here. This is my old John Deere L130, and one of the spindles blew out, and I mean bad. I'll show a picture here, but I got a new spindle, put it on, and I've got this trick here. I've got two things stashed here. One is the belt. That's the replacement belt for this mower. The second thing I have, I've got a laminator in the house, and I laminated the belt diagram, and I keep it. I've got a picture on one side, and I've got the diagram on the other, and that way I can always get the belt back on the way it's supposed to go. So I got this thing back up and running. Front tires go flat on it all the time too. The rear tires are new, so at some point I'm going to replace the front tires. Maybe not though. This is my secondary mower. This is my spare mower. Usually what this gets used for is in the wintertime hauling my yard trailer back and forth to the house full of firewood. So, but this one's the primary one. I've got it back up and ready to go. I just got to take it down off the jack stand here and grease it up, and I can mow the yard, but that's going to wait till after the sun gets a little lower. It's 95 degrees right now, and the humidity is crazy high, so I'm just drenched in sweat. It was hotter a couple weeks ago, but the humidity wasn't this high. I can work with humidity being high, or I can work with it being really hot. I can't do both. That just takes all the energy out of you. But yeah, so that's the updates, and you know, a few little tips there for you. I did buy a blade balancer. Never had one of these before. Didn't even know they existed until a couple days ago. I was talking to a coworker, You take your blade and you set it on here, and you can tell if the blade's balanced or not for when you get your grinder out and you sharpen it. I've sharpened the blades on the John Deere. The Husqvarna, now I need to take the blades off and sharpen them. I just haven't done it yet, and I've got to mow first. It's so, my grass is getting so tall in the backyard. But there's a tip for you. Get one of these, get your flap wheel on your grinder and grind your... I've seen videos where they talk about how to grind your blades and buying special tools. And doing it by hand is not terribly slow, especially if you have mulching blades. You got a funky curve you got to hit, and you can get it with a hand grinder. And you don't have to get exactly on that 30-degree angle. A 30-degree angle will give you the best cut while also giving you the hardest edge. If you go down to a 22-degree angle, your blades are going to be really sharp, but as soon as you hit something, they're dull. 45-degree angle, you're going to be knocking the grass over and not cutting it, but your blades will hold up fine. So 30 degrees is what you're aiming for, but it's not precise. So don't sweat it too much. Get your blades sharp and balance them. And here's the old spindle off the John Deere. When I break stuff, I do it good. You can see it's all blown apart. It looks like it got hot and seized up. I had my earphones in. I never heard it squeal or squawk. I just noticed a bunch of smoke pour out, and then the blades quit turning. So, yeah. That's one of the wasted blades off the John Deere. Those are a couple old wasted blades off the church mower there. So, yep. Alright, so I was trying to grease up my mower and I ran out of grease in the grease gun. This I got from a yard sale or I inherited, I'm not sure. It is a heavy duty old style grease gun. This thing is awesome. This thing is going to last another century more than likely, but it's working good now. When you run out of grease in one of these, how do you service it? How do you put new grease in one of these? Well, if you happen to inherit one of these and you don't know, here's what you do. You unscrew the barrel here. Oh, I'm already skipping a step. Pull back this charging handle here. If you look, there's a notch there that just locks in place. You get that barrel off. I've already had to do this a couple times to remind myself, but there's a cartridge here that comes out. Now I've got this new cartridge here, and I've already opened up the cap end previously and scooped grease out, but there's plenty of grease in here to use in this gun. So you take that cap off, and this side there's a pull tab, like that. You pull that tab off, and you can do it after you slide this in the gun. You can slide this in and then pull that pull tab off. And you just thread this back on. Do not cross thread it. The threads are kind of shallow. You don't want to tear it up. Give it a little bit of a cinch. Then unlock this, and it'll go in. This is spring-loaded. That rod will push its way through the grease up to the front. The cup that's spring-loaded to ride on that rod stays back here because it can't push against the grease. And so you get this rod pushed all the way in, and as you pump it, that spring-loaded piston will work its way up. The only reason that rod goes all the way to the front is to pull that piston back whenever you go to service it. But there you go. That's all there is to it. You can see it's already putting grease out. So that's how you service your grease gun if you got one of these old style ones, if you inherited it from somebody. I've got one more can of this old grease to throw in here after this one's done. You can still get these grease cans, just so you know. This is old stuff that I got with this gun when I inherited it. It's old grease, and you know what? It works just fine for your mowers and stuff like that. And I don't have any problem putting this, doing my trailer wheel bearings with this grease. Yeah, it's old, but you know what? Have you seen all these rescue videos where people go and drag a car out of the field and they do a little bit of work on it and it runs down the road fine? This grease doesn't go bad just sitting in there. It goes bad when you get contaminants in it. Sure, they've got better greases now that are a little less liable to break down and stuff, but this stuff here is not bad. I don't hesitate to use it in my stuff. So, yeah, if you got one of these old grease guns, put it to use. Especially if you got a lawnmower that has grease zerks and needs servicing. If you've got an older vehicle that's got grease zerks, those grease zerks are there for a reason. You need to start using them.